I feel very called to become a member of the Catholic Church.
Love the Catholic Church. It's just the best place to be.
From the studios of EWTN, this is Open Line. In North America, call toll-free 1-800-585-9396. That's 1-800-585-9396. Outside North America, call 1-205-271-2985. You can also send an email to openline@ewtn.com.
Happy Thursday to each and every one of you. We are talking the new evangelization as we do every Open Line Thursday. Father Larry Richards is in the house. If you've got a question for Father Larry, the number is 1-800-585-9396. That's toll-free anywhere in North America. 1-800-585-9396. If you're outside the United States and Canada, your number is 1-205-271-2985, or you can send us an email, openline@ewtn.com. I'm Jack Williams. Michael McCall produces the program, and Jeff Burson today screening your phone calls as Matt Gubensky is off to parts that I'm not going to talk about on a Catholic radio program, quite frankly.
Oh, my goodness.
No, he's joining a very dear friend of his from high school. He's having a little bachelor get-together up in Reno, Nevada, and they're
joy,
godly young men, and I'm sure that they will behave themselves quite nicely. And
I'm sure.
Quite frankly, I know Matt's mother pretty well, and he's not going to do anything that's going to get her ire up. I'll promise you that. That's right, Mary Kay Gubensky, I'm calling you out. So at any rate, we've got the A-primed team on today with Michael McCall and Jeff Burson helping us out. Father Larry, you're not on the shores
I'm
of
not where
Lake
there's
Erie.
2 feet of snow right now.
No.
Exactly. I am in DeLand, Florida, at St. Peter's Church outside of Orlando, finishing up a parish mission. Tonight's our last night of the mission.
How's the attendance been at the mission?
Been full every night by God's grace. They've been great people, and so tonight's adoration and healing. So we're looking forward to this night.
Fantastic. We will keep you in our prayers for your mission tonight. You know, tomorrow, big day here in the United States. The March for Life in Washington, D.C. Coverage wall-to-wall starting at about 9 in the morning tomorrow Central Time here on EWTN TV and radio, commemorating that unfortunate incident some 40-plus years ago of the decision of Roe versus Wade, which, for all intents and purposes, legalized abortion through all trimesters of a pregnancy here in the United States of America. And, you know, Father Larry, things like this that we can stand shoulder to shoulder with our evangelical brothers and sisters and people of goodwill can really be, I think, a good tool to maybe start an evangelistic conversation with folks.
Absolutely. When we can come together and talk about what unites us instead of always focusing on what divides us, it's the greatest thing. And then, you know, we get closer and closer to the desire of Jesus' heart that we may be one. And so, gosh, we keep praying for that unity, and we keep standing by, and something like this where we can all say, you know, it's the most horrendous thing we do in America is kill babies, by far. And we need to stop, and we all come together. We can do some great things for the future.
Have you been to the march, Father?
Many times.
Let me ask you this. Speak to some of our separated brothers and sisters that might be listening. We have a lot of them, I know, that tune into EWTN radio. When you attend an event like the March for Life in Washington, D.C., it is an overtly Catholic event. There are people praying you can't escape some elements of Catholicism just about anywhere you go. And I think some of our separated brothers and sisters might find that a little off-putting. What would you say to someone who maybe doesn't understand everything they see or is a little put off by all the Catholic activity that they see at a big event like that?
Well, and again, I think that they see that this is where the Lord is leading us to take stands. And, you know, and we can be visible and take stands. I'll never forget when I was a seminarian there. I still have the picture somewhere. But there was a big sign, and it says, Atheists for Life. And then there was someone that passed by where that sign is the same time, and it said, repent. You know, so it was like, Atheists for Life, repent, you know, come to Jesus. It was like unbelievable. But to show that when we take a stand, that's why it's so powerful. Like when priests and nuns wear their habits and wear their clerics, you know, we show to the world, we're pointing to something, that there's something beyond this world. And so when you're and you see all these thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people at the Right to Life March. Even they don't ever talk about how many thousands of people are there. And when you see it's the church out in the front with these priests and their clerics and these nuns in their habits, and they're holding these crucifixes and they're holding signs and they're holding statues of Our Lady. This is an outward sign of the presence of the church and God in this world, to say, this we will not stand for anymore. And so it's the blessed thing. And so especially when our brothers and sisters are there, I spend a lot of time with my brothers and sisters who are not Catholic in Erie, and they have such great respect for the church in this regard that we're not willing to bow down or give up on this issue.
And I know that those of us, like myself, who have come from a Protestant tradition have a tremendous amount of affection and gratitude for the tradition that we came out of.
Absolutely, because we're all based on Jesus. Huh? And that's the point. That Jesus started all of us, and we're all focusing on Jesus Christ. And sometimes when we focus on all these other things, we focus on ourselves. That's when we get messed up. We need to keep our focus on Christ and His teaching. And if people are not there to the fullness of truth yet, we don't go against them. We help them. We love them into the church. And God is doing great work. So
I've had occasion to be with you in an airport before with you with your clerics on, and obviously that is an invitation to evangelize just by walking through an airport dressed like that. But do you ever find yourself in those kind of situations and kind of forget what you're wearing and wonder why people are asking you what they're asking you?
No, I'm 99% of the time in my clerics, so I'm always like, okay, now I get there. But I can't tell you, when I go on planes, almost every single time I'm on a plane, Father, we're so grateful you're on here today. And I always say, I'm glad you are. So that's the thing. But it gives people assurance. It gives them peace. It helps them to know, okay, Christ is here somehow. And even though it's a sinful priest that's representing Him, Christ is still here. And it gives people hope. And so that's why, when sisters got out of their habits, that was a sad time for me. And I'm so glad that we're all coming back to, okay, it's time to wear what God created us to do, to be a witness to Christ, not to ourselves, but to witness to Christ.
1-800-585-9396 is our toll-free number. We're talking the new evangelization with Father Larry Richards, beachcomber Father Larry Richards, coming to us from sunny Florida today. 1-800-585-9396. Open Line Thursday rolls on.
Whether you're at home, at work, in the car, you can follow what he teaches 24 hours each day. We're EWTN Radio.
And just to let you know, I'm a returning Catholic because of EWTN. Bless you guys and keep it up.
And you're invited to visit our website too. Just log on to www.ewtn.com. That's www.ewtn.com.
It's the start of a new day for Morning Catholic Radio.
We should point out the Episcopal Church is really the U.S. arm of the Anglican Communion.
If the U.S. Church continues to thumb its nose at the communion, what can be done?
I don't know. They could stop inviting them for tea or something, I suppose.
That is really, really bad, I've heard.
I'm glad to know Father has a sense of humor.
Morning Glory, Catholic from the start. Weekday mornings, 7 Eastern on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
This is Open Line on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. If you have a question or comment, call 1-800-585-9396. Outside North America, call 1-205-271-2985 or send an email to openline@ewtn.com.
Remember to like EWTN Radio on Facebook. Go to facebook.com/EWTN Radio Network. That's facebook.com/EWTN Radio Network. 1-800-585-9396 is our toll-free number. If you get a busy signal, keep trying. We will work through as many of you as we can get to during this hour with Father Larry. Our leadoff hitter today is Rick in Orlando, Florida. He's listening on Sirius XM Channel 130. Rick, what's your question today for Father Larry?
Hello, Rick.
Father Larry, my son was raised in the church, knows all the rules, and we've had a long discussion with him about this issue, but he's currently living with his fiancée and is going to get married in a meeting hall instead of in the church. He knows better than this. If he does not get a dispensation from the bishop, Should I attend the wedding?
I hate with these questions. It's the one we get the most. It's the one I get in most trouble about.
Talking weddings here on Open Line Thursday with...
Okay, now, again, we should never participate in people if they're sinning. So he's getting married outside the church. Now, is his fiancée Catholic?
Nope, she's Episcopalian,
Okay.
which is a problem. And
yeah, exactly. But again, it's not a
the
problem.
wedding of her dream being put together by Mama.
The reality is that they can get it blessed. We've done many, many, many blessings. But, this is my thing, is that he's your son. And if you just come with judgment to your son, then he might stay away from the church forever and use this as his excuse to not come back to the church. But if you sit there and say, I am 1,000% against this, but I love you and I will be there just to show I love you, but you're breaking my heart when you do that. Now, again, I would think that we want him to be saved. Now, again, a priest just called me 2 weeks ago and says, when I tell people they can do this, I'm encouraging them to participate in sin. I am not in any way doing that. I am looking more at, Jesus ate and drank with sinners, and he was present to them. And what gets people to Christ more? When you meet them in love, so you can call them to the next level, or you just stand back in judgment. And again, you got to ask the Lord of Jesus in your prayer. You got to ask your pastor, what should I do? Because I can't tell you what to do. I'm not there. And I don't know your situation. And to give you a 3-minute response so everybody can say, well, Father Larry said on EWTN that this was okay, that isn't doing anybody any good. So you really got to ask the Lord. But I'm saying that I think that a person could support their son or daughter as long as it's not if they're in their heart of hearts thinking they're doing what's best. But again, he can do that. And with the blessing of the church, all he needs to do is talk to a priest, and they can get a dispensation to get married by her clergy with not much of a problem at all.
Thank you, Father.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank
God
you, Rick.
bless
Appreciate the phone call. 1-800-585-9396. Next up is Mindy in St. Louis, listening on Covenant Networks, AM 1460. Mindy, you're on with Father Larry.
Hello, Mindy.
Hi, Father. It's an honor to talk to you.
Well, thank you. What's
and I'm
up?
so glad that I got in touch with you because I have a question.
Uh-huh.
My brother-in-law's sponsor for RCIA.
Mm-hmm.
Every Saturday we have the class. This past Saturday, the subject was examination of conscience.
Mm-hmm.
And the pastor at the church, he led the class, and he talked about the teachings of the church, that if you have a properly formed conscience, he very clearly said there were times that it was okay to go against the teachings of the Catholic Church. So I raised my hand and I said, I just want to be clear. Did you just say that, it's okay to go against the Catholic Church if you have a properly formed conscience? He said yes.
Mm-hmm.
An example would be contraception. There are times where it's acceptable if you have a properly formed conscience.
The properly formed conscience is and he's taken a quote of the church and the teaching of the church out of context. The kickoff is what is a properly formed conscience? Do they really, really know what the church is and why the church teaches that? I mean, again, everybody, They try to dumb down the teaching of the church. And again, some people might say that about me. I'm dumbing down the teaching of church when I'm saying you got to pray about what the Lord's asking you to do when it comes to weddings of sons and daughters, and as we've already talked about. But we have objective truth, too. And so when we focus on objective truth, the church teaches us what's right and what's wrong. Now, with that reality, there are pastoral circumstances when we're talking to people. Now, that's in all things, like something as simple as there's objectively grave sin. Missing Mass on Sunday is always objectively grave. That means it's always objectively evil. But it might not be evil for the person, right, if you're sick that morning. Because to commit a mortal sin, you need serious matter, full knowledge, full consent of the will. So you don't sit there and say, well, you just don't give the lesser thing about, well, you can miss Mass on Sunday, it's no big deal. No, that's never what the church taught. But if you're sick on Sunday, then you can miss Mass, and it's not a mortal sin. So do you understand what I'm saying?
I do. I guess I feel personally, I guess it's a two-part question because I personally feel confused.
Well, yes.
At that point I said, So I guess I thought it was. I told him, I guess I thought it was an intrinsic evil, and he said, "Oh no, it's contraception is not an intrinsic evil."
Oh my!
And so I guess in my personal experience of being married and coming to this conclusion that this is an intrinsic evil, and applying that to my life, and then a priest who has been in a Roman collar longer than I've been alive is telling me no.
Sure.
I feel confused about that, and then if I am right,
and you are right,
I don't feel
and then church is
evangelize him.
Again, the whole teaching of the church, like on that, I mean, it really was most of when they were coming to a decision on artificial birth control, most of them were going that, okay, it would be okay. The one who really pushed against it and pushed the Holy Father to go against it was John Paul II, and John Paul II really, when he was not John Paul II, but he really wrote the whole thing about why it's intrinsically evil. And then the Pope settled that question, but there was a lot of theologians on both sides of the issue. And so your priest might have been on one of those theologians on the other side of the issue, but the church defined that as dogma, that there is intrinsic evil in artificial birth control. So that's where he's really having a problem there. But, again, that is a defined teaching of the church. So you're right. Don't get confused. Especially in RCIA, that's not the time to. Again, it's these people that are always saying instead of the truth, they're always saying the objections to the truth or the ways around the truth. That doesn't help anybody. But you're right. Okay?
Thanks so much, Mindy. We appreciate the phone call. We're heading out of the great state of Idaho. Kate, listening on Salt and Light Radio. Kate, what's your question today for Father Larry?
Hello, Kate.
Hi, Father Larry. How are you?
I am blessed. I'm going to be in Idaho next Saturday.
I know it, but I wouldn't get to go because I'm
I know it's a men's conference. I'm sorry. But I'll be up there again this summer, so I think when I'm going to be up this summer, you should be able to come to. I forget when it is, but okay, what's up?
You know what? I have a question about Jesus and God and anger.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know I've listened to you, and you have said that God is unchanging.
Mm-hmm.
But, basically, when we commit sin, we're the ones that are doing it to ourselves. It's not God doing it to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
But my question is, in the gospel yesterday, Jesus got angry at the Pharisees because they were misconstruing what God's intention is. So my question is, okay, is Jesus' anger human? Or is it divine? Or is it both?
Well, by definition, all his emotions and that would all be human, because God would not have emotions in himself, as God is. Even when we talk about God's anger, he does not have emotions. Like when we call God Father, that's how he's been revealed. But God, by definition, is spirit. Now, when the spirit, the Word of God, took on flesh in the incarnation, which we call Jesus, he took on everything we have in humanity. So he had all our emotions and everything else. And anger, by definition, is not sinful by itself. Paul says, if you are angry, let it be without sin. Because anger that's good, that helps others, is an okay issue. It's the anger that deals with us and my hurt and my pain, and that might be an unrighteous anger. Whereas if I'm angry that they're killing babies in America today and no one's standing up for it, that would be a righteous anger. That would be, you should be angry. If you're not angry, there's a problem here. So, but it would be in his humanity, all his emotions. But again, you can't separate Jesus. He's 100% God, 100% man at the same time. So I don't want to go to heresy here, but I'm saying that it's in his humanity, the way he thought, in his humanity, the way he grew, in his humanity and his emotional state. Does that help or make it worse?
No, that helps a lot, Father. Thanks an awful lot.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. Appreciate the phone call there in Idaho. 1-800-585-9396 is our toll-free number. That's the number Kirk used in the great state of Indiana. Listening on 95.7. Kirk, you're on with Father Larry.
Hello, Kirk.
Hi, Father.
What's up?
How you doing?
I am blessed.
First of all, I want to tell you that I really appreciate your ministry. I really appreciate everything you've done for all of us.
Thank you.
Some of your sermons and homilies have been life-changing for myself and many of my friends. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you. You get out of purgatory early, though, because you listen to them. So go ahead.
One of the things I wanted to ask you, I'm going to kind of put you on the spot, and that is we have a new ministry we started at St. Michael's here in Plymouth called Hops and the Holy Spirit.
Nice.
And basically, we get together, typically 25 to 30 of our parishioners, and we have a priest come in or via Skype or video conference, talk for about 15 minutes on a topic to help us, grow stronger in our faith, and then we sit around, drink beer, and talk about God.
Smart guy.
Wonder if you'd be at all interested in Skyping into one of those sessions.
Gladly, but you have to go through my director of my foundation. She does all that stuff because we get 10 to 12 requests a day for me to talk. And so she does all that stuff. So all you have to do is go to thereasonforourhope.org, and it says, invite Father Larry, and it gives you all the information and talk. And then Mary Therese Craig is my director of my foundation, and you'll call her, and she'll look at my calendar and try to set something up, and I'll gladly do it if I can. Okay?
I'll be on there this afternoon. Thank you very much.
There you go. God bless you. Thanks for calling, Kirk.
God bless you.
Thanks, Kirk. Appreciate the phone call. That opens up a line for you at 1-800-585-9396. Toll free anywhere in North America. Ruth is in the great state of Wisconsin, listening on WSFI. Ruth, you're on with Father Larry.
Hello, Ruth.
Hi.
What's
Hi,
up?
Thank you for taking my call.
Of course. What's up?
I need help in forgiving somebody for kind of doing me a wrong.
Okay.
It's a medical person that made a bad judgment call.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been 2 years, and I have to see him on occasion, and I have to do, stuff to my leg every day, and it just, I try so hard to let it go, and today was one of those days where it's just like, I can't. I just, can't you understand, what you did? And to be honest, I suppose I could really lay into him and tell him, but I don't want him to end up having a drinking problem and or doing something really stupid, like taking his life or something because of guilt.
Sure.
I can't do that to a person.
Well, sure, but you could get another doctor, first of all, just so you don't have to deal with that.
I suppose I could, and I have thought of that.
And that would be
I really have
first.
thought
But
of that.
I think the first thing you need to do is to forgive him, but forgiveness has nothing to do with your feelings, huh? Forgiveness has to do with an act of the will. So what you need to do in prayer is you just say, Jesus, I now forgive him, and I ask you to forgive him. The feelings will come later. And every time you have an anger or a hurt heart about him, ask the Lord to bless him. And if you do that, let's say you have a hurt heart 100 times a day towards this man, and you ask God to bless him 100 times a day, then the Lord will change your heart, and then the devil will stop bothering you about it because it's not working. You're bringing more blessings upon this man than anything. And so the best thing to do, too, is to think that all of us, like I know when I stand before God on Judgment Day, I deserve eternal damnation. That's not false humility. That is truth. And so why? Because it says a good man falls 7 times a day. I'm not a good man. Sometimes I fall more. And so, but every time I fall or every time I sin, I kill Christ. And yet, every day I ask God the Father to forgive me. And never once has he said, Larry, every day you kill my son. And then every night you ask me to forgive you. Never once has he said no to me. So how can I not forgive anyone who's hurt like me in any way? So it's an act of the will. And so just say, Jesus, I forgive them. I ask you to forgive him. And then every time you have a bad thought, ask the Lord to bless him. And you watch what will happen. It'll be great healing to you, okay?
That's great. Thank you so much.
Thanks for calling, Ruth.
Thank you, Ruth. Appreciate the phone call. 1-800-585-9396 is our toll-free number. And, Father Larry, it really is amazing that if you can, and I'm not always successful at this, but if you can actually make the conscious decision to take a moment and pray for those that you're having problems with, it's amazing the different light that is shed on them almost immediately.
Absolutely, because now you're bringing God's eyes, and he can see, everybody in their heart has pain. Every one of us have hurt people. Every one of us is in need of forgiveness. And so when we start looking at people with God's eyes, then we can see something so different. And, so that's often what we do is we bring Christ's light into the situations, and Christ's light is unbelievably powerful to change our heart, to heal our heart, and to bring healing to the world and the people around us.
Straight ahead, we'll talk to Tracy in Illinois, Kathy in North Dakota, Michelle in Washington, D.C., and we've got plenty of time for your phone calls at 1-800-585-9396. Toll free anywhere in North America, 1-800-585-9396. Open line Thursday with Father Larry.
We are called to defend life. Now is your chance to join the fight through prayer and action this January as EWTN brings you live, coast-to-coast pro-life coverage on the anniversary of legalized abortion. Watch, walk, and support life wherever you are this January. Coverage begins Thursday, January 21st at 5:30 p.m. Eastern on EWTN.
From the archives, this is the wisdom of Mother Angelica.
Do not let your heart be troubled. Is your heart troubled? Well, what about? Well, I have my children are not in the church. We've had tragedy after tragedy in our family. This one is a born loser, never been successful in his life. This one has terrible pain. All that. So who knows Jesus? And yet our dear Lord looks at us with great love as only a friend can, a real friend, and say, don't let your hearts be troubled. Now I want you to think of that. He's saying, don't let it. Now that means you can do something about it, doesn't it, huh? He doesn't say, I'm going to help you not to let your hearts be troubled. No, he said, you don't let it trouble you.
For more about Mother Angelica, visit EWTNRC.com.
Check out EWTN's official YouTube channel. Just follow the link on our homepage at EWTN.com or go to YouTube.com/EWTN.
Watch EWTN's live shows or today's homily from the Daily Mass.
Click the upload button to see our most recent clips.
You can also find all of EWTN YouTube content by clicking the playlist button.
It's all on the official EWTN YouTube channel at YouTube.com/EWTN.
Visit today.
This is Open Line on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. If you have a question or comment, call 1-800-585-9396. Outside North America, call 1-205-271-2985 or send an email to openline@ewtn.com.
On the eve of this year's March for Life in Washington, D.C., Raymond Arroyo has another jam-packed show on the World Over Live. Excuse me. He'll talk to Representative Chris Smith, U.S. Congressman from New Jersey and also the co-chair of the House Pro-Life Caucus. And they'll talk about the March for Life. He'll also have Father Tad Pacholczyk on, the director of the National Catholic Bioethics Center, and George Schwartz, CEO of Ave Maria Mutual Funds. That's all tonight at 8 Eastern on EWTN Television. Back to the phones we go. Tracy is in Illinois, listening on Sirius XM Channel 130. Tracy, thanks for holding. You're on with Father Larry.
Hello, Tracy.
Hi.
What's up?
My son is discerning the priesthood,
Good
and
job.
he has for about 2 years, and but he's only 15, and he gets a lot of feedback, even from priests, that he's too young, and that he needs to date and explore the world before he thinks about something like this. And I was wondering how you felt about that.
Well, I entered seminary at 17, so I mean, I've been part of this in the beginning. God calls different people at different times, and so sometimes we think that we're helping someone by saying, oh, go experience the world. I don't think so. I think that the biggest thing you can tell him, though, is that he must pray. He must pray, and not just saying a bunch of prayers. What happens too often is people get into this ritual of saying prayers, and they can become very scrupulous, which scrupulosity is something you have to grow through. But prayer is a relationship with Jesus, so he needs to be listening to Jesus every day. And that will help him to go and to make sure he does what Jesus wants. Because the number one thing a priest must be, the number one thing is a man of prayer. If he's not a man of prayer, he will do more damage than he can do anything else. So if he can learn to pray now, then he doesn't have to listen to anybody else. The Lord will tell him when it's time for him to go to seminary and all that kind of stuff. But the prayer life must be developed. It's the most important thing he'll do. And then, as Mary said, do whatever he tells you.
Okay, I'll pass that on.
What's your son's name, Tracy?
Drew.
Drew. We will have all of our listeners praying for Drew.
Exactly. Awesome. Great name, Father Drew. Okay, God bless you.
Thank you.
On to North Dakota we go. Kathy's in North Dakota listening on Real Presence Radio. Kathy, you're on with Father Larry.
Hello, Kathy. What part of North Dakota are you at?
Fargo.
Okay.
I'm in Fargo, and we have
Fargo.
only 20 degrees above zero today.
Oh, you're going swimming later, aren't you, Kathy?
I have been to Fargo at St. Anne and Joachim Parish there. I did a mission there years back.
Oh, we would love to have you come back.
Oh, it was a great time. There's not much in Fargo, though, but still I remember it well.
Oh.
What can we do for
We
you?
would love to see you again.
Okay, what's up?
I have a question about attending church with my husband, who is not Catholic. He goes to another Christian denomination.
Okay.
And not on a regular basis, but maybe 3 or 4 times a year.
Sure.
Going with him just to support him in his Christian walk, not partaking of their communion or anything like that, but just accompanying him kind of socially type of thing. And to me, it would seem fine. I just wondered what your opinion would be.
My opinion would be the same. It'd be fine as long as you're not participating in communion or anything. Because isn't it amazing? It'd be okay. We would say it'd be great if he came to our church, right? You're like, oh, yeah, that's okay. But how about you go to, oh, you can't do that. I mean, let's listen to that. That would be terrible. Now, again, you might have some people that says, oh, you cannot do that. You cannot do that. But I think as long as you're not participating and you're not being, all you're doing is supporting your husband and his worship, I think that's fine. Now, if your pastor tells you you cannot do that, then listen to your pastor. But if you were to ask me, I'd say, of course. Okay?
Okay.
God
Sounds
bless
good.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks for calling.
Jorge is in one of the great towns in America, Walla Walla, Washington, listening on 100.7 FM. Jorge, you're on with Father Larry.
Hello, Jorge.
Thanks for taking my call.
Sure. What's up?
I do have a question on
sure
on the what the church teaches or what I hear on the radio. That even stealing a pencil or a needle can be a sin, and you can stand in purgatory or even go to hell. And I do believe that. You know.
Okay.
But this is where I have trouble trying to distinguish, because when I get to the point that I have to make a business or make an offer on a yard sale or on a used item, it comes to my mind that what if you miscalculate or you take advantage of that person and you ended up making more than even a pencil is worth.
Sure.
So I don't know if I'm trying to express myself.
Okay. First of all, don't always focus on sin, because following Jesus isn't about focusing on sin, it's about following Jesus. Second of all, sin gets in our way of our loving God and loving others more. And sin means missing the mark. Now, of course, there is a difference between stealing a pencil and stealing $1,000. One would usually be a venial sin and the other one would be a mortal sin. They would both be sins, but one could kill you, depending on the severity of it, and the other one would wound you in your relationship with God. Now, you should never do any sin, period. You don't sit there and say, well, it's only a venial sin. Venial sin hurts your relationship with God, so you don't do it if you can. Now, when it comes to those type things, like in yard sales and different things, if you walked into a yard sale and you knew that there was a painting there and that painting's worth $1 million and you know that, and you offer the person $1 because they're stupid and they don't know that, and they say, okay, yeah, you can have it for $1. Well, that would be taking advantage of somebody. But if you go and you think, okay, I'll offer you $15 for that painting, and you don't know any difference and they don't know any difference, then that would be okay. You understand?
Yeah.
All right, Jorge?
Yeah, thanks for your
Okay,
help.
Jorge. God bless you.
Bye.
To our nation's capital we go. Michelle's in Washington, D.C., listening on 1160 AM, Guadalupe Radio. Michelle, you're on with Father Larry.
Hello, Michelle.
Hi,
What's
how
up?
are you, Father?
I am so blessed beyond anything I could imagine. So what's up?
Well, my question is, since I was a kid, growing up in Catholic school,
Mm-hmm.
I've always had a debate with my non-Catholic friends saying that, Catholic Church was not the first church. And I was always taught that Catholic Church was the first religion and the first church that was founded by Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Can you make some
clarification than that. So I can
well, sure. I mean, we go back to what Peter, and that's why we always trace our beginnings to Peter. When Jesus said in Matthew that you are a rock, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. Whatever you declare loosed on earth will be loosed in heaven, and whatever you declare bound on earth will be bound in heaven. And so we, from that very moment when he said that to the rock Peter, we have had a rock directly till we get to St. Francis. Nobody else can do that. Everybody else broke away from that, including, even though they're as old as us, the Orthodox Church. But the Orthodox Church does not go all the way back to Peter in the same way we do with the popes, the way we've talked about. So, even Martin Luther was a Catholic priest, and he married a Catholic nun before he started Lutheranism, before he went off in Germany. And if you go to Episcopalians in England, he was a Catholic, Henry VIII. He even got the award from the Holy Father as Defender of the Faith, but then he wanted to get married for the third time, and the Pope wouldn't give him an annulment, and so he left the church, and he told all his followers they had to leave the church, and if anyone stayed in the church, he killed them. And so the whole Anglican Episcopal Church is based on that. So the reality is that we need to know that we were there from the beginning. Everyone else is broken off, and that's just an historical fact. Okay?
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Appreciate the phone call. We'll head now to Ohio. Mary's listening on 89.5 FM. Mary, you're on with Father Larry.
Hello, Mary.
Hi, Father. How are you?
I am blessed. What's up?
Okay. First of all, I have to tell you this. Has anybody ever told you that your voice coming over the radio sounds just like Michael Douglas, the actor?
No, I sound like Glenn Beck is what I always get. Father, you're Glenn Beck. You sound just like him. You have the same views. I said, I do not. He's a Mormon. Shut up.
Okay, well, here's my question. I'm a cradle Catholic, and over 50 years ago, I left the church, and then about 5 years ago, I came home.
Good.
I'm very much involved with RCIA and everything. During my time away from the church and everything, I was going to church, in a Protestant faith. And I would always...
Well, we lost Mary, Father Larry, but she wanted to ask about the wrath of God. What is the wrath of God that you might hear about in a Protestant church? And
again, and you've heard it in the Catholic Church throughout the years too. The wrath of God is still the love of God, but we see that comes to us, like if a child is playing with fire and he gets his hand slapped by his mother, she slaps his hand, and he could say, I got the wrath of Mom today, because she slapped his hand so he wouldn't get hurt anymore. So when we talk about the wrath of God, we're talking about still a loving God who gives us what we want, but always to save us in the long run. Do everything in his, think about it. God does everything in his power as God to save us in the death of Jesus Christ. So God is always a God of love. That's always revelation. But the wrath of God is what we get on ourselves because we choose something different. So the first penalty of all sin is God gives us what we want. And a lot of time that we see that as wrath, but it's what we've chosen.
So your phone line going dead would not be the wrath of God.
It would not.
Okay, so take heart in that, Mary, if you're still listening. 1-800-585-9396. We've still got time for your phone calls. 1-800-585-9396. Talking the new evangelization on an open line Thursday with Father Larry Richards.
After a fight with my wife, I was complaining to God. Why does it always have to be about her? Can it be about me? And God spoke to me, not audibly, but in my heart, and with words I'll never forget. He said, you have every right to make it all about you, to put your own needs first. You have every right to be average, to be ordinary, and not to become a saint. Suffice it to say, I retracted my prayer. And in retrospect, I think God wasn't only calling me to holiness, but to happiness. The days I wake up and say, my wife is lacking these 5 traits of a perfect spouse, I should tell her. Those aren't my best days. The days I wake up and ask myself how I can make her the happiest wife on earth, I end up being the happiest husband. Go figure. Jesus said, "Whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for my sake will find it." This is Chris Stefanik from RealLifeCatholic.com on EWTN Radio.
Hello, this is Father John Paul Mary.
This is Debbie Georgiani, co-host of Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
My friends, this is Bishop Kevin Vann of the Diocese of Orange. I want to thank you very much for listening to the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
This is Open Line on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. If you have a question or comment, call 1-800-585-9396. Outside North America, call 1-205-271-2985 or send an email to openline@ewtn.com.
Entering the home stretch on an Open Line Thursday with Father Larry Richards. Next up is Debbie in the great state of New York, listening on 89.9 FM. Debbie, thanks for holding through the break. You're on with Father Larry.
Oh, hello. Wonderful. Thank you so much. I hope you can put an end to some dissension in our house.
Okay.
I'm lucky enough to have a daughter who's actually going to be a nun, and she and I have opposite views on something. Okay. When I used to work, I don't work anymore, I'm disabled, but I used to work, I was very open about being Catholic. Mm-hmm. And of course, at work, there would be people who wanted to stir the pot, so they'd come over and say random things to me like, "You Catholics worship Mary." Mm-hmm. So I went to my catechism and studied up and tried to do my best to explain to them how we don't worship Mary. But eventually, sometimes they'd catch me up with questions that I didn't really know how to answer.
Sure.
So I'd kind of say, well, go read the catechism, maybe you'll find out, because I know you're wrong. Well, I've stopped evangelizing people. I've decided that, you know what, there's always going to be sin, there's always going to be sinners. I'm a sinner. Mm-hmm. It's not my job to bring people to the Catholic Church. If Jesus and God calls them to come to the Catholic Church, then they'll find the right person and they'll be brought into the church. It's not my job to bring them in. My daughter, the future nun, says, why would you leave someone in ignorance and not teach them what to know?
Exactly. You are 100% wrong. Jesus Christ calls you to go and make disciples of all nations. He didn't just call priests and nuns. He called Debbie from New York to make disciples. So that's your job. When you stand before Almighty God one day, he's going to say, where are your brothers and sisters? And you can't say to him, well, it's too hard to get me here. I say, that's not my question. There were people dying around you. Why didn't you care more about them than you did about yourself? So your main job is to evangelize. So your daughter is 100% right. Aren't you glad you called Debbie?
Yes, I am, and I'm glad that she's right, because being a nun, she's got to be right. She's got to know.
Exactly. There you go.
She just yelled in the background that she just earned extra Jesus points.
Well, there you go.
Good job.
How did you become Catholic, Debbie?
I was what I call a flower Catholic, meaning we only went to church when there were flowers. Easter, Christmas, weddings, funerals.
Nice.
And then I met my future husband. He was going to be thinking about being a priest, decided not to be a priest. He wanted a family instead. So he's really brought me back to the church. I'm solidly Catholic.
So you're saying another person on earth helped bring you to the church?
Oh, I know. Isn't that funny?
See, maybe that's what you need to be doing, huh?
I know. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bless you. Bye-bye.
Next stop, Virginia. Josiah, listening on Sirius XM Channel 130. Josiah, you're on with Father Larry.
Hello, Josiah. What's up?
Hi, Father. I'm not a Catholic, but my church really got started with the March to Life and a bunch of evangelicals seeing you guys doing the liturgy, and when you all got arrested, doing the daily office in prison and praying. Mm-hmm. And so the CEC really got started out of that.
Good.
Not only to thank you for that, but also I've got a lot. I'm Italian, but not Catholic. And
is that even possible?
Not even allowed. But
sure, go ahead.
When interacting with Catholics or other Christians who have faith, like doing the rosary or praying other things, other prayers or other religious things that I might have moral qualms about,
sure.
What's the best way for Christians worshiping and ministering together to overcome that difficulty?
Well, I have met for many years every month with a bunch of First Assembly of God, Grace Baptist, all basic Bible believers. And what we do is we just discuss Jesus and we focus on we're all saved by grace. And we stay focused on that. But then we do discuss, like once we all went and retreat once, and they says, Larry, we know you love Jesus. Oh, thank you. And then he says, but what about Mary? And then I told them, we're on this 24-hour retreat, and I said, this is what we believe about marrying why. And every one of them looked at me and says, I could believe that. Well, of course you could believe that, because you just never understood, where the history comes and the whole thing. But my thing is, we have stayed together. They're all pastors in their religion. I'm the only Catholic in them, and they're all strong pastors. And I pray with them and for them, and they pray with me and for me, that we are saved by the blood of Jesus, and we need to keep focusing on that reality. Because in heaven, we're all going to be there. I just firmly believe it. And if we're all going to be there, then we better start living it like it is today. And that's the reality. So we come and we pray together. And even like when I have a husband and wife that one is Catholic and one is not, I say, I want you to learn to pray with each other every night. You don't have to say prayers that are official, but you can hold your wife's hands and says, Jesus, help her to know how much I love her, and I'll always be here for her, and bless her, protect her, cover her in your blood, And the wife can do the same. If they're both Christians, of course they can do that. So that's what we got to do, is focus on what brings us together and really focus on the person of Jesus. Okay?
God
bless,
help? Father.
God bless you. We'll pray for you, Josiah.
Next up is Bob in Kansas. Bob, you're on with Father Larry.
Hello, Bob.
Hello.
What's up?
Well, I've got about 3 questions. I'll make them short.
Okie dokie.
We are in the electronic age, so one question is, why can't the diocese, I like to go to confession every month, why can't the diocese establish what I would call a confession hotline?
Because all sacraments are personal things. They're not stuff that you can do online or TV. So it's a personal encounter with a living
telephone would be personal.
No, I'm not going to touch you. It's like, there's a big difference between you having sexual intimacy with your wife and talking to her on the phone, is there not? So it's that type of intimacy.
I don't see the comparison there. But.
Well, you should, because it's a personal, intimate relationship between a priest and a person in confessional. The way it used to be is the priest or the bishop would actually lay hands on the head of the person. So it's a physical thing. All the sacraments are physical realities. So it has to be one-on-one. First question. Next question.
Okay, Sunday Mass. Yep. I watch it on both television and the internet. Mm-hmm. Why doesn't that satisfy my
Again, because you cannot you're not receiving the body, blood, soul, and divinity of Jesus. What if you just watch the Food Channel and never eat?
That goes to my next question.
Okay.
Why would it not be possible? I know hosts do leave the church. And I go to daily Mass regularly.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But on the days I don't, why couldn't I bring some hosts home, take very good care of them, so that I can go to communion at home on the days I don't get to church?
You're trying to make Christianity a private thing between you and Jesus. It's a communal thing. So that's why you just can't sit at home on Sunday and talk to Jesus. You got to come to the family. We are a family. You are not going to be alone forever in heaven. You're going to be with the rest of us, like it or not.
Oh, I understand that.
So we need to do communal things. That's why everything is personal and communal. And in the society, it takes away all communal things. There are more lonely people today because of Facebook, even though we're more connected to people. It brings more loneliness. You need one-on-one contact, and you need a familiar contact with the family together at the Mass.
Do not deprive us of you, Bob.
Yes, Bob. We couldn't survive without you.
Okay.
God bless you.
Thank you kindly.
You're welcome. Next up is Michael in Ohio, listening on Sacred Heart Radio. Michael, you're on with Father Larry.
Hello, Michael.
Good afternoon. Oh, hi,
What's
Father.
up?
How are you doing?
I am blessed.
Yeah,
What's
I had
up?
a problem. I was explaining to the screener that I converted to Judaism from Catholicism, and I was wondering if, I promised my mom that I would come back to the church. So I've been coming, but I never confessed the fact that I converted. So I wasn't sure if I was in violation.
Did you convert to Catholicism or did you convert to Judaism? What are you now?
Well, actually, I actually both, but I was baptized as a child in the Catholic Church.
Well, you should become Catholic because there's a big difference. If you just leave the church, you're turning your back on the Eucharist. And to turn your back on the Eucharist, Jesus says, unless you eat my flesh and drink my blood, you have no life within you. So I would very, very seriously question whether you could do that, because to turn your back on Jesus by being Jewish is what you're doing. That's a humongous difference.
No, the thing was that there's an aspect of it that people who can be some people who are born, like I said, my mom converted before I was born to Catholic Church. So I don't have a choice, but I just decided later.
Well, you got to decide whether Jesus is important to you. How do you get saved? Do you get saved because of Jesus, or do you get saved by what you do? We're talking about your eternal life here. Well, that you got to sit there. You got it. Well, okay, but you can't be saved by Jesus if you're Jewish by definition, because they're still waiting for the Messiah, and it isn't Jesus to them.
But there were some people who I don't know his name, but several cardinals who were Jewish converted to Catholicism. You know,
well, of course, you can go that way.
I'm saying the cultural difference, because I still go to mass every Sunday and I go to confession. I just haven't passed that application. But I was wondering that because
you could be culturally Jewish, but I'm not saying you're excommunicated. But if you're still going to mass and confession, I don't. You're still Catholic, but you need to talk to your priest. Is what best thing I can tell you, because over the phone, I don't understand completely what you're saying. But talk to your priest and do whatever he tells you. Okay.
Quickly, we'll head to Michelle in Dallas, listening on Sirius XM channel 130. Michelle, you're on with Father Larry.
Hello, Michelle.
Hi, Father Larry. How are you?
I am blessed. What's up?
Well, very interesting last caller, and it's funny. My question is somewhat related.
Okay.
I am calling to find out. My husband is Jewish, and throughout the years, I don't like going to church alone, so he'll come to support me and be there for me. But I was just wondering, how is that okay in the church? I mean, by him being there and not believing, is that bringing anything into the church?
No, no.
No, it's bringing goodness on him, though.
Exactly. It's bringing great goodness upon him. He's always welcome in our church, and again, he's always welcome. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you.
God bless you. Thank you for calling.
You too. Thanks.
Thanks, Michelle. My apologies to Kathy in Pennsylvania. She wanted to say thank you for the new book, Father Larry, so I will thank you. I will thank you on her behalf. Father, would you leave us with a blessing?
Holy Father, great God of love and mercy, I ask your blessing on everyone who's hearing us now, in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen. We'll keep you. We hope our listeners will keep your travels in their prayers, Father Larry, but you return safely home to the beautiful shores of Lake Erie. Safe and sound. On behalf of our host, Father Larry Richards, our producer, Michael McCall, call screener Jeff Burson, I'm Jack Williams, thanking you for taking some time out of your day to join us. Back at it tomorrow with EWTN's Vice President of Theology, Mr. Colin Donovan, and an Open Line Friday. Until we get together tomorrow,